All right.
All right. Okay.
We're going to cut that.
Greetings from San Francisco on the final day of what has been, a Homeric odyssey for Chapo Trap House.
Homer Simpson-esque, indeed.
we have finished our tour. It is the day after Super Tuesday. We are going home after going 4 for 4 on all of the primary states in which we toured and did shows in. If only we could have gone to more, but I probably would have died. So
We're all pretty close to that right now.
Yeah, Matt and I are both prone.
We're
right
prone.
now.
We're
But,
podcasting from the horizontal position.
We're honestly, I'm just very happy we all lived through this. At different points, we all got super coronavirus, multiple cancers, and we made it though. We made
did it.
it was worth it. It was worth it.
We did it.
So as I said, this is the this is the day after Super Tuesday. And, I don't know how you're feeling out there in podcast land, but I would say, given everything that happened last night and the sort of tectonic shift in the race over the last 48, 72 hours with all of the cucks and losers dropping out and endorsing Joe Biden, I think you should be mature enough to admit that last night we did take a punch.
Yeah,
but the name of the game is to get.
We got pestered.
The name of the game is to get hit and hit back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I simply must counsel you to avoid all doom and gloom. If this hit is all it takes for you to just drop out and give up
seriously.
Then
and
you're
be
a
like,
bitch.
then you're a little
We don't
bitch.
need no
I'm
bitches
sorry.
on our team.
Honestly, yes.
We don't need no bitches on our team.
Yeah.
It's a spread of 65 delegates.
Now, and they haven't even finished allocating it.
1,215 delegates declared. 1,991 needed to win the nomination.
It's basically a tie.
It's such a small spread in a very early point. There are many, many, many delegates to acquire.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like we've taken you guys this far through the early primary states in which we said Bernie Sanders almost ran the table up until South Carolina. That was a big win for Joe Biden, and then everyone dropped out and endorsed him, and it definitely helped him in Super Tuesday.
I would really like to have been a fly on the wall at the meeting that Obama had with all the candidates on Little St. James, where they divvied up the cabinet positions for them all in exchange for their endorsements.
No, but I think you should be steely-eyed and clear and redoubled in your resolve because, as Matt said, Biden has a not by any means insurmountable lead in delegates, and the states coming up are very winnable for Bernie Sanders. So I just feel like
Clear eyes, full hearts, sharp knives.
and I know, I just feel like the presidential race began last night.
Absolutely.
And,
And
it's a two-man race
Rough.
between Biden and Bernie Sanders. And that's it. And to echo something you said last night, Matt, look, it's the two old white men. So just we can forget about and throw out the window all of that maddening shit that consumes people online about identity politics and who deserves what, and why do we have to have old white men? These are our two options, and the question for everyone is which one of them is good?
which grandpa do you want to go to spend Christmas with?
Well,
the
one
one
of them's
who's still
Jewish.
sharp and tells you funny stories and gives you a little Werther's original, or the one who shears Smith all over the walls and accuses you of being a Japanese soldier?
Okay, so I think thinking of the way, now we go negative.
Oh, yeah. And, yeah, and two-man race,
But-
that's when you could do it.
Yeah, now that's a zero-sum game.
But I think there's going to have to be a two-front thing because the Biden is crackers thing isn't going to work on his base,
Oh,
who
no.
are themselves also crackers.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
I think we can actually peel away some of Biden's elder support, a significant amount maybe, by talking about Social Security. So I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about how he's crazy, because he is very crazy, but that's not an ace in the hole, because a lot of old people are like, you know what he means.
Yeah. That's how
I
I
know
talk.
what he means.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's his record on Social Security, which Bernie has already deployed to some good effect in Iowa and
Yes.
New Hampshire.
He did that
That
so
needs to
hard.
be redoubled down upon starting right now, like full nuclear Armageddon on his record on Social Security and other things. I would say the other thing is just he is unelectable.
Yes,
He will lose to Donald Trump. There is not a single argument that you can make about Trump's corruption.
A vote for Biden is a vote for Trump.
You cannot make a single argument about Trump's corruption or denigration of the office if your nominee is Joe Biden, because it will boomerang back around on him. And I'm sorry, Hunter getting that job for a Ukrainian gas company for like $50,000 a month that he didn't even show up to. It's an obviously on its face corrupt no-show job. Biden is a fatally poisoned candidate. If you thought that Hillary Clinton email shit sunk her fucking campaign, what do you think the much more obvious and easy to understand corruption going on in the Biden family is going to do to him against Trump in a general election?
This is also, Biden is running against Trump is essentially the only way possible for the sitting president of the United States to campaign as an outsider against entrenched Washington interests.
Yes, yes.
He can replay the 2016 playbook to a T. Just do it the same thing over again. Now, the thinking of the Biden people when he decided to run this time was, damn, if it had been Biden instead of Hillary in 2016, Biden would have won. And that's true. But the thing is now, any kind of advantage he gets over not being as personally unpleasant and unliked as Hillary Clinton is totally invalidated by the incumbency advantage of Trump.
Here's another thing.
Both the incumbency and, as you said, simultaneous outsider. It's amazing.
He's fighting against the swamp.
Here's the other thing, though. Like, if you want to make the contrast between Biden now and Hillary Clinton in 2016, yes, Hillary Clinton was uniquely unliked and untrusted as a major politician in this country. But going into both the primary and the general election, she did have a genuine base of support of people who were like really dedicated to her campaign and really excited to vote for her. Not enough people.
She had her own.
Biden has just got over by basically people in the last 48 hours who are just like, yeah, I guess.
Fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fine. I guess he's the guy. I guess he's the guy we have to vote for. Like there's nothing there that he's going to bring to the table other than, like people who vote for the Democratic candidate as just kind of like a reflex. And that is a recipe for disaster. We've seen what this produces. We've already seen what's going to happen with this. And he's going to run the same campaign Hillary Clinton did, but less competently, which is somehow terrifying to think about. But I'm sorry, he's senile. He has Alzheimer's. His brain is not all there.
My God, if Hillary just collapsed on 9/11, what the hell is Joe Biden going to do on Outdoor Summer Hoops Day?
2020 Outdoor Summer Hoops Day.
Blood's just going to start shooting out of his tear ducts like a sprinkler system.
No, I mean, Virgil, you called into the FYM stream last night, and I think you said it exactly right. This is not like the victory we were all hoping for on Super Tuesday. Right. This was not Plan A.
This wasn't the one knockout punch where Sanders would accrue such a wide delegate lead over his nearest competitor that it would essentially put the nomination out of reach for everyone but himself.
Right.
Yeah, but
that was what we were hoping for, and
that's what the polling was leading towards in the past few weeks on the momentum of Bernie Sanders winning the first three early states. And the question after South Carolina, where Vice President Biden won by about 30 points, was, okay, that this is coming 3 days before Super Tuesday. Is he going to get the momentum from that? Is that really going to matter? Or is it that in this, media environment that's not enough time, enough people have voted early, or that the airwaves are just simply swamped with Bloomberg and Steyer ads that, the normal rules of momentum are suspended and that you can't really get momentum from anything anymore. And we did get the answer to that question. It's a mixture of one, that momentum, and two, the deal cutting.
Yes, good old. And we don't love a good deal.
I would love to know what those deals are made. All those cucks are. They were offered something.
Yeah.
With Buttigieg, it's very interesting because it's utterly unprecedented that someone could place in the top two in Iowa, New Hampshire, and then both states, and then be out before Super Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I said this on the FYM stream last night. I do think that part of it is, he ran out of money. Mm-hmm. And, of course, part of it is rationally he realized, I'm about to get owned everywhere on Super Tuesday. He's probably, pretty pissed about that. The fact that he got no love after doing unexpectedly well in Iowa and New Hampshire back when. everyone thought that the establishment support would coalesce around him. That being said, I'm guessing state.
Yeah, I think state or defense.
State.
And
he is a troop after all.
And it makes sense for him because he has no political future outside of making a deal with one of the other Democrats, because he cannot win a single office in his state of Indiana.
No. Yeah, and I have to imagine that Pete Buttigieg looked at the polls going into Super Tuesday and thought, okay, this moment, 2 days before Super Tuesday, is probably when I'm going to have the most leverage.
Yes,
ever. And after Super Tuesday, when I get owned, I'm going to look like an asshole. One, and two, that me being in this race splits the everyone but Bernie vote to such a degree that I won't have anyone to cut a deal with if I stay in this race. And I also think Pete Buttigieg is someone who is ideologically opposed to Bernie Sanders, to Bernie Sanders' beliefs, and to you, the listener. So he didn't want to be the guy who caused Bernie to win.
Here's something to put into perspective. In 1996, Bernie Sanders voted to legalize gay marriage. Joe Biden voted against it. Pete Buttigieg just endorsed Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. That's who he is. That's what he believes. As Virgil said, he's opposed to you. These people, it is not an exaggeration to say they want you to die.
Yep.
And you should keep that in mind when, like I said, and you better fucking redouble your fucking effort and find some fucking strength to keep this fight going, because it is a fight now.
Yeah,
and this is a war of attrition. And Virgil's also right. You can forget about the brokered convention, any of that.
Yes.
Any of that, like that strategizing about delegate. Now it is just purely about who gets the most delegates going into the convention.
It's a delegate right. Okay, so this is a totally different race now. And back to your original point, that was plan A, was it was going to be a knockout punch, kind of like in 2004 with John Kerry, that would put the nomination out of the reach of everyone but Bernie Sanders, and possibly a contested convention, because, of course, that's what everyone was freaking out about 2 weeks ago. Now it's 2008 all over again.
Yep.
And this is it's a 1v1 heads-up match, no re, and it is... And it's now get ready for delegate math. Get ready for all the fucking delegate math fucking bullshit that I know Matt and I fucking sat through all through 2008.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
Now every state counts, and now running up the score in every state counts. Yes. Now it's not about momentum. It's not about doing so well in certain states that you're going to get the fence sitters, to come and join your campaign. Because as we know, Bernie Sanders is the insurgent candidate. He fucking won Nevada by huge margin. And shortly thereafter, Harry Reid endorsed Joe Biden.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It's just like the upper echelons of the Democratic Party elite and the people who fund them, Obama and all the party grandees, I'm sure they sat everyone down and they made the offers, and they figured out the game theory about how this really works, and they did the Brendel-Fly teleporter thing, and Joe Biden stepped out, and now he is all of their DNA, all of their disgusting blob of flesh and organs has coalesced into Joe Biden, and he is the consensus establishment candidate. It is both disturbing and terrifying how quickly that mass of flesh and organs congealed together to win a lot of those states and delegates on Super Tuesday.
Yes.
And with Klob and Buttigieg, and they're just dropping out and endorsing, he's the guy now. And it was looking like Bernie Sanders was going to get that knockout punch on Super Tuesday. That didn't happen, but here's what you have to keep in mind. They were always going to train the full force of the Death Star on Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
It was going to happen sometime, and we saw it just happen. We just took the biggest punch, the biggest hit that they were capable of giving, and it did not knock us out. It is still virtually tied in this race. So please keep that in perspective.
And also this is the thing that I've been thinking about the most. We saw the phenomenon of, in late 2019, early 2020, of Biden's lead in the early states that voted early declining as people started paying attention to the race. And we know that people generally start paying attention to the race about 2 weeks before they vote, which means that the vast majority of people who haven't voted yet before now have not really thought about it, which is terrifying but true. And I don't think that there's any reason to believe that the phenomenon of people paying attention to the race, seeing Joe Biden, hearing about his record,
Yes.
and like really like confronting him as the possible candidate leads to his numbers going down. And I don't see any reason to believe it won't happen again because he's the same guy, with the same record and the same presentation that caused the collapse in early states.
Everything the outcome by perseverating.
Everything that Bernie Sanders has already done and built in this campaign is designed perfectly to form a contrast with just Joe Biden.
Yeah.
His entire career, the things he currently stands for, the things he currently pretends to stand for. It is a perfect machine of juxtaposition between these two guys, and it is a contrast that resounds heavily in your favor. And you should be very confident about that going forward. And like I said, train all fire on the Joe Biden superstar destroyer.
Depending on who you're talking to, either he will lose or he's going to take away your Social Security.
Yeah.
And,
said he would.
And guess what?
It all the time. He loved talking about it.
I mean, like, we already bodied Booker, Beto, Buttigieg, Warren, Harris. Here's the tricky part, though. None of Joe's followers are on Twitter.
No.
So
sorry. The posting wars have been complete. It is a new front now.
Yeah, we have opened a new front. That being said, still post hard against Joe Biden.
Don't talk to Mama and Papa.
Yeah, you can still post hard against Joe Biden. Post hard against the journalists who say anything nice about it.
Also,
those are the people that are online. Those are who you can train your fire on. But this is a completely different race now, and it is a knockdown fight. It is a war of attrition to the convention for every single delegate in every single state.
And something else that's important to realize now is now it's important for everyone to organize in all 50 states and all territories and in D.C. because it being a delegate contest now, it matters not just that Bernie Sanders win a state, but that he win a state by a big margin.
Right.
That means everything that you do in this zero-sum game of Bernie versus Joe Biden, any undecided voter or someone who is not going to vote, you can get to go to the polls and vote for Bernie Sanders. That contributes to increasing Bernie Sanders' delegate margin against Joe Biden.
Yes.
Yeah, and we are headed back to New York today. The New York primary is in April, and it's going to be huge. And we're going to take everything that we've all the skills that we've trained and learned on the road and going to apply it right in our own backyard. Knowing my beloved home state as well as I do, I can tell you it is going to be very hard to beat Joe Biden in New York State because it is such a Democratic Party fucking horror show. They have got everything stitched up so good in that state. However, it is not undoable, and we're going to do it. And we're going to hit it hard with all the shit that we've done on tour back in our home field advantage for Bernie Sanders in New York State. And there's a shitload of delegates there to be had.
I will be buying a megaphone.
Yeah.
So that I can continue my life's mission now to drive around and yell at people in every state in the union.
Just one more before we go off, leave the Bernie versus Biden thing. I saw this clip on Twitter today that I retweeted that I think is just so revealing in a few ways. And it's Joe Biden talking to CNN in 2016 about how Bernie Sanders accurately reflects the will of the Democratic base. And I'll put the clip in, but the other thing that's revealing about it is like listening to Joe Biden talk in 2016 versus talking now is night and day. And I think that those two things combined, that he accurately in 2016 knew what the will of the party was, what the will of the voters were, what made Bernie Sanders such a good candidate, and is now actively campaigning against it, plus him being cogent 4 years ago and incogent now is really, it's really revealing. I mean, I'll play it for you guys. I don't know if you have any commentary on it, but I'll insert it in the episode.
If Bernie Sanders never said he was a democratic socialist, based on what he's saying, people wouldn't be calling him a democratic socialist. That's how he characterizes himself in sort of European terms, the democratic socialist parties in Europe. But
why is she having trouble?
Well, I think that Bernie is speaking to a yearning that is deep and real, and he has credibility on it. And that is the absolute enormous concentration of wealth in a small group of people with the middle class now being able to be shown being left out. There used to be a basic bargain. If you contributed to the profitability of an enterprise, you got to share in the profit. That's been broken. Productivity's up. Wages are stagnant.
Hillary's talking about that as well.
It's relatively new for Hillary to talk about that. Hillary's focus has been on other things up to now, and that's been Bernie's. No one questions Bernie's authenticity on those issues.
And they question hers, you think?
Well, I think they question everybody.
Anyway, I'll let it play out. I don't know. I thought that his ability to identify the thing that is happening here and then still 4 years later run against it much stupider is interesting.
And just
also, holy shit, that's from 2016. He declined very rapidly.
Yeah. The other thing I'll mention, just to echo that clip, is something Matt Karp said the other day, where it's just like the things that Bernie is campaigning on are not radical by any global standard. I know, like, that many of his supporters and listeners to the show, we have our radical dreams of a better,
they're radical dudes,
like leftist politics and world. We're beginning here, but what he is offering is just the bare minimum of healthcare, labor, and environmental standards that, like, every other modern industrialized country in the world takes for granted. And if you are opposed to that, and by that I mean pretty much the entire Democratic Party, it is because you are right wing. You are reactionary in your politics if you are against these very basic things like raising taxes on the wealthy to pay for things like healthcare, infrastructure, education.
Well, I want to get away from that, though, because, like, this is not an argument that, like, is going to be useful at the doors. Like, I just don't think that the people we're talking to, it's like, those people are right wing, because if they believe that that's all that's possible, they'll go for that just to beat Trump. So saying that this person is in this camp and this person is in that camp it really only appeals to kind of political subculturalists who are looking for a camp. I think the thing to do is to say, Bernie is offering something that we deserve and that is possible. And I don't think the label really means that much to people at this point. I mean, after Trump, think about all the weird reasons that people voted for Donald Trump. Some of them for, like, they thought he was going to bring back manufacturing. Some of them,
that lady who thought he was going to end the pit bull Holocaust.
Yeah, and it continues. Every day.
Every day.
So I think the thing is to remember is that people are actually pretty politically idiosyncratic, and these camps mean more to kind of, media people, even outsider media people like us, than they do to the average person.
No, I think that's a good point. And I just to move on slightly to the other, what to me is probably like the most important and actually biggest story from last night. I've said this is a two-man race now, but that's not technically true. It is there is a third person who is still in this race and who is still hanging around last night, and that is Elizabeth Warren. Make no mistake, Elizabeth Warren's choice to stay into this race through Super Tuesday cost Bernie probably 4 states last night.
Yeah.
It is undeniable at this point that she is a purely wrecker candidate. Has been obvious for
a fucking piddling number of delegates, too.
She has 12 delegates, I think.
Drop out,
like
bitch.
80.
Oh, yeah? Well, she got 12 delegates last night on Super Tuesday.
She got a few more than that.
Okay.
More than 12.
All right, but
she only had like
it's piddling.
She only had like 8 going into it. Is the thing? No, it's not. It's nothing. It's she got third in her home state. It was frankly a humiliating loss.
And she finished third in her home state of Massachusetts, but lost. If she had not been in the race, Bernie would have won Massachusetts, Minnesota, Maine, and probably one other state that I'm not.
Texas.
She's just the fuck Bernie candidate.
No,
as you said yesterday.
Yes. And like it has been obvious for at least a month and probably longer than that she has absolutely no path to the nomination, that nobody's voting for her, that she will not ever finish higher than third place. And this idea that if only we personally or you were nicer to her and her supporters, that you could have prevented this is absolute horseshit. If we had been angelic to her in our treatment and discussion of her as a politician and her character, she still would have done exactly what she did last night. And the idea that she is going to still stick in this race is so absurd and mind-boggling that, like, it could not be more fucking obvious what's going on here. And this idea that, we've made her into Hillary Clinton and we've alienated her supporters. Basically what they're saying is we personally and Bernie Sanders supporters should have lied more about who Elizabeth Warren is and what her campaign represents, and that would have prevented her from stealing 3 or 4 states from Bernie Sanders last night. The idea that, if only we hadn't called her a snake or brought up the fact that she'd been lying about being a Native American for most of her adult life or voted for Reagan during the AIDS crisis, that it would have changed. It would have made her drop out and endorse Bernie. It's just everything we saw last night proves that, if anything, we were too nice to her.
We, I think, collectively were all, to some flavor or another, hostile to her even being in the race in the first place, and thought she was bad because we all knew Bernie was the only option. But I honestly did think you don't want to be too hostile because presumably these voters are eventually going to be needed to be brought over to Bernie. So, I mean, I fucking held my tongue about her way more than I wanted to for that very reason.
Well, and you follow to some degree or another, the directive of the campaign, which did not go hard on Warren.
Yeah.
Every single person who cast a vote for Elizabeth Warren last night voted for Joe Biden.
Yeah. Obviously. I mean, it's the same logic that they've used a million times in every other fucking race, and it still applies. A multi-way race, you've got a progressive and a conservative option, and you pick some third one out of some weird, misguided, personalized political vision. Guess what? You voted for
just because people are fucking airheads.
Yeah.
Dude, I think we cannot completely underestimate the airheads.
People are very
the
dumb.
Warren machine is definitely these, like, bloodless PMC monsters who thinks politics is like an alumni mixer. But there's also just kind of like vacant dodo birds who don't know what's going on. And we can get those. There's still a few of those.
It's staff writers for TV shows called something like The Limit on Sci-Fi.
That sounds great.
But, I'm not sure when this episode is coming out. We're recording Wednesday afternoon here, and right now we're just sort of waiting for it to come over on the transom that Elizabeth Warren has formally suspended her campaign. And what I've been seeing all day is a lot of these people who said, I was with Warren for, the past 9 months, but now I'm donating to Bernie and I'm proud to support Bernie Sanders. Yep, good. Okay, better late than never, especially now that we will need all hands on deck in order to defeat Joe Biden.
But let's also be clear, even if Elizabeth Warren does drop out, I would bet almost anything that she is not going to endorse Bernie Sanders.
I doubt it.
She's going to endorse Biden.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I don't think she would endorse either. I will go no endorsement.
I think she'll probably do no endorsement.
Yeah.
Which is functionally the same thing as endorsing. It's the same thing as endorsing Biden.
She's taking her orders.
Oh yeah.
No. She did what she was told, and should they get Biden across the finish line as the nominee, who will then go on to lose to Donald Trump, she will go down in history as the person who is
good for you, Lizzie. You were just following orders.
Yeah. She will go down in history as a person who is maybe most individually responsible for stopping the popular hopes and dreams of not just an entire generation of people, but like an entire
country.
And
a million other countries that we affect.
Yeah.
Okay. I have some breaking news. In the middle of this recording, Team Warren published a Medium post.
It's the perfect place for them to write.
All people who are going through some stuff go to express themselves. By Roger Lau. Let me read this part to you guys.
What is his capacity in the Warren?
I don't know. Comms director.
I think he's the campaign manager, Roger Lau.
Yeah.
And he's on fucking Medium?
He's on Medium, yes.
That is cringe already.
All right. So this is a little bit. It's not very long. This is just part of it. Last night, we fell well short of our viability goals and projections, and we are disappointed in the results. We're still waiting for more results to come in to get a better sense of the final delegate math. And we also all know the race has been extremely volatile in recent weeks and days, with frontrunners changing at a pretty rapid pace. But we are obviously disappointed. And Elizabeth is talking with our team to assess the path forward.
Roger Lau, I believe, is the guy who keeps posting Baghdad Bob type shit about how great Warren's doing.
Yeah, I'm sure. All of us have worked for Elizabeth long enough to know that she isn't a lifetime politician and doesn't think like one. She's going to take time right now to think through the right way to continue this fight. There's a lot at stake for this country and the millions of people who are falling further and further behind. This decision is in her hands, and it's important that she has the time and space to consider what's coming next.
Bitch.
Elizabeth,
so essentially, this is a call for self-care. This is a call for everyone to let Warren have some me time.
She's at capacity right now.
She's at capacity. She's out of spoons. And you need to give her some time to respoonify.
You know what?
Elizabeth Warren isn't a career politician. She doesn't have political instincts or know how to win elections.
Or
and I'm not a career campaign manager. My last job was at Blockbuster. Yeah, there's still some of them.
Here's another thing to bring up about Elizabeth Warren. Like her sort of origin story as a Democratic politician was her opposition to the Joe Biden bankruptcy bill, which is another just atrocious thing that needs to be tied around Joe Biden's neck like a fucking anchor and then throw him overboard with it. Yeah. She has spent like much of her political career as a Democrat or as a national figure writing, lobbying, fighting against all of the things that Joe Biden has helped do, particularly in the banking and financial sector. What she did last night will go down in history probably as maybe the most effective weapon Joe Biden has ever wielded against a popular left movement in this country. So, I mean, just put that in perspective when you think about Elizabeth Warren and what she was willing to do and what she actually believes in.
I'm looking at his Twitter right now, and it's so cringe. There's so many exclamation points. I'm so happy to be in Michigan tonight. He's just like retweeting her, and then his pinned tweet is apparently a little girl saying, I can see her outside of Elizabeth Warren's voting location. It's so cringe. His thing is campaign guy at Warren for president. I think it's a hedgehog. He, him, Statue of Liberty, and then text fight to 2477. This man is a loser. This man is a born loser.
He's a loser, folks.
I cannot believe someone this fucking corny. Ugh.
I can imagine one man more corny, and that is Twitter celebrity, I guess, and Warren supporter Chuck Wendig, who had an amazing thread, I believe the day before Super Tuesday, where he said, imagine a Warren presidency where she tucks you in at night and gives you chocolate milk and all the insane fantasy bullshit we've talked about.
Perverts.
So now, though, it's a day later, and he's feeling a little frazzled, as we all are, because, it didn't go too well for him. And he says, Wednesday, the day you flumpty foo, and you think boopity boop and zippity zoom. But the truth is, razza frazza wuzza wuzza. What I'm trying to say is, maybe your brain isn't working either, but that's okay because you're great. P.S. You need a firmware upgrade in the form of coffee.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though.
He would be soy facing the entire time.
I know. I mean, like for her,
you paid your last soy face today, sir.
For her, like utterly delusional supporters, many of whom I think genuinely were thinking she was going to turn it around on Super Tuesday after people saw what a great debater she was, or finally read about her fucking plans or whatever. But this idea that it didn't go as planned. I'm sorry for Elizabeth Warren and her people. It went exactly as planned.
Yeah, I mean, to believe otherwise is to believe that they are as dumb as their supporters, and that's a terrifying thought.
I think she's that dumb now.
I mean, I don't know what's going on in her brain. I don't get her at all. I honestly
think
don't.
She is following orders, but I think there's a part of her that's so high on her own supply right now where she's like, I mean, after last night, I don't think so as much. There's got to be, she's clearly taking a moment to take a bubble bath or whatever.
Calgon, take me away.
I think for a while there, she was just like, we could still do it. And she was following orders, but I think there's this weird idea. I mean, you saw this happen, right? You saw her, and you're going to see it with some other politicians, by the way. You saw someone start out with, let's say, good intentions, and they have an idea, and they have a thing,
some of the right ideas,
and they have a program that they want to see instated because they believe that this is the thing that's going to make things better. And very, very slowly, they themselves become the program.
Right. Yes.
And I mean, it's like a classic power corrupts kind of thing, except she's not even in power.
Pathetic.
It's like the possibility of power corrupting.
Yeah.
And think about someone like Bernie who's been doing the same thing forever and failing and having no reward. And like that's kind of like this slow, steady build of a political career of someone who's just like chugging along, stays the course. That's the only thing you can trust. An up and comer with a lot of hot new ideas. Watch them; they'll lose their fucking mind. Youth is not an advantage, by the way. They are very malleable and have no experience. Like,
well, also if you look at the voter turnouts, like from last night, youth is also not an advantage there either. So.
Right. Oh yeah, I was just saying. It's just like you kind of saw it happening to her, and I'm like, just wait. She's going to be evil by the end of this, and there we have it. Because she just kind of believes her own bullshit. She's high on her own supply.
Matt, Wednesday, gonna be a hard day as a lot of them are. So remember, we're all towering nomadic sacks of mites, yeast at a couple tardigrades, and other sundry microbiota, inside and out, stem to stern. So go have a cookie and a tasty beverage. Your tiny friends demand sustenance.
Illegal to tweet these. It should be illegal. I believe in the First Amendment, or at least I thought I did, but these tweets should not be legal.
No.
It's like just like dumping asbestos in the middle of a fucking playground.
She did her job on behalf of all of the people she claims to oppose.
Yeah.
So make of that what you will.
Dang it.
Make of that what you will. But let's go into the other big story to come out of yesterday, and that is the hilarious flame out of Mike Bloomberg.
God damn.
I mean, for a while there, I was really scared about it because it was a terrifying idea. Yes, Amber was right yet again. And it was sort of a terrifying idea to me because, in my opinion, a Bloomberg nomination would be like the ultimate black pill universe. That would be like really apocalyptic to think about. Like, of just, there's really no going back. There's no hope for anything. It's just like pure, like techno accelerationist fascism. Like, is just like the only. However,
Wait, can I just read this thing New York Times real quick? The bid cost Mr. Bloomberg more than $500 million in advertising alone. He also spent lavishly on robust on-the-ground operations with more than 200 field offices across the country and thousands of paid staff. His operation dwarfed those Democratic rivals who ultimately won stage in which he installed many dozens of employees and spent heavily on radio, television, and direct mail ads. He might have actually bought American Samoa. I mean, the island.
Yeah.
And he still couldn't do anything.
I pointed this out to Matt when we were talking about the American Samoa caucus, gaming that out, which I correctly predicted that Michael Bloomberg would win. And Matt suggested that he could buy everyone in American Samoa, or at least every caucus goer, a Nintendo Switch and buy it in that way.
Easily.
And what I realized is Michael Bloomberg could purchase every man, woman, and child in the country a Nintendo Switch and still have more than half of his wealth.
Fuck.
And I'm kind of mad that he doesn't do that because I think
what the
everyone
hell?
should have a Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the Switch.
I would like one.
It's great. Zelda, Breath of the Wild, the
Love it.
Pokemon games.
Love just to wander through the landscape.
No, Trump once again with the only good post of the night because he is president due to being the greatest poster to ever live.
As it should be.
The biggest loser tonight by far is Mini Mike Bloomberg.
Mini Mike.
His political consultants took him for a ride. $700 million washed down the drain, and he got nothing for it but the nickname Mini Mike. And the complete destruction of his reputation. Way to go, Mike.
I love it so much.
Oh, it's so good.
Followed to hell by that tweet, I would hope. That's the last thing he thinks.
He did get taken for a ride because, as Matt and I are fond of pointing out, Trump made money on his campaign.
Yes.
He didn't buy the
He
presidency.
didn't spend a fucking dime. This dumbass dropped all that money. But of course, the real perverse thing is that it didn't even touch the principle of his fucking wealth.
No, that
It was
is
just
that is
another
insane
revenue
to
stream.
think about.
Trump is famously a tightwad.
Yeah.
And the money he wasted on this presidential campaign is like astronomical and unprecedented in political history. But it's like just the interest his money makes on a monthly basis. Like it hasn't affected him at all.
Nope.
This is like sneezing into a Kleenex and throwing it in the toilet for him. Like,
Yep.
That is about a little over 1% of his net worth.
Imagine just the megalomania of that asshole thinking he could do this and just show up as, like, because we said, probably the most singularly unappealing person imaginable.
He has a beak,
and like his visceral hatred and contempt for average people, and just get out there and be like, I know what's best for you. Look at my TV ads. And here's the weird thing. Bloomberg and like Steyer too were like on every fucking TV station for like months. Every single ad you saw on like the evening news or your programs, you saw Mike, and people were like, we were questioning, like, is this the future? Can you just do this? Can you just like buy enough TV ads to just get in like, low information voters' brains that they're just like, oh, that's the guy I saw on TV. And that didn't work. But here's the thing, equally terrifying, Biden just like ran up the score in states like Virginia and North Carolina, where he spent no money and had no organization whatsoever.
Well, one of the things that happened in those two states particularly is a big boost in turnout in the wealthy suburbs by people who didn't need a organization, didn't need canvassers to know, oh, no, I don't want Bernie. And they took the notice of the consolidation around Biden that he was the one to go with. And
it just shows you like what the party is a real thing. And they protect their interests.
And that it does have a base. I mean, people talk about how like the Democratic Party doesn't really have a base. It doesn't really in terms of one that could win an election, but it has certain segments of the population who are reliable Democrats and see themselves that way. Mm-hmm. And they are, through either patronage networks or due to their particular class position, much more sympathetic to the Biden wing of the party.
And, but here's the thing, though. Like, I've seen a lot of people being like, this is really proving like that, like, campaigns are the big loser, because like this is proving that like, ground game and field organizing, like it doesn't really matter. And, like if you're Biden, that's true because you have the entire media and the entire Democratic Party. But if the Bernie Sanders campaign, you wouldn't be neck and neck with Biden unless you had the actual fucking army of like people knocking on doors. That's what we have.
Yes.
We don't have the entire media and the entire Democratic Party. What we have is the people, you guys out there making phone calls and knocking on doors and sending money, texting, just doing the work in the field offices, on the internet, whatever. That's what we have. So like, don't let them trick you into thinking that doesn't matter or it's ineffective.
Yeah.
Because we're going toe to toe now with what they have, and like I said, what they have is enough to like get a guy who's has Alzheimer's publicly and doesn't stand for anything or offer anyone anything other than just like a vague feeling of like, we're going to go back to the way things used to be, or I'm going to restore honor and dignity to the White House. Well, we've seen it. I mean, like that's not nothing. When that works, but so does what we're doing. It absolutely works, and it can and will beat these assholes.
He fucking crushed it in the biggest state in the country.
And
this one,
dude, actually,
one we're in currently. California.
And if it wasn't for California last night, it really would have been totally grim. And credit must be paid to the Bernie Sanders organization here in California and everyone who volunteered and worked for Sanders in this state, because you guys really came through in a big way last night.
Absolutely.
We're very proud of you, and we're going to go die now.
Yeah, I'll go back. We're gonna go to Avalon, and we're gonna rest until we're needed again for the battles to come.
We're going to crawl in our pods filled with nutritional liquid.
Yes.
Go into a deep REM cycle for a few weeks and emerge fresh and dewy.
Yep. Oh, we're going to be so dewy, guys.
Oh, so dewy.
Oh, they're not going to be able to handle how dewy we are.
I would just to add to the organization out here in California, one thing that I heard last night when we were at the East Bay DSA watch party, which had hundreds of people at it.
Oh yeah.
It was packed to the gills.
I thought it was like 700-800 people probably there.
There were a lot of people. I'm terrible at estimating numbers. Somewhere between 2,000 and 2,000 people were at that party. But one of the things that I heard from longtime DSA East Bay organizers was, I don't know who any of these people are, which I took as a good sign that hundreds of people who are strange to the movement would come to a democratic socialist party joyfully to celebrate their big win in California. It's just more sign that the thing is growing. It's not shrinking. And I found that very heartening.
I guess just to
we grow by Bernie.
I guess just to bring things like full circle here. It's just like we've laid out for you, like, this is the race now, and now, like, this is not any time to cower or be like, psyched out by the media or what you're being told about, oh, this is devastating or whatever. Buck up, don't be a baby, fucking take a punch and give one back.
But no wild-eyed triumphalism either. No one likes that guy.
Yeah. No, well, just know that it's all in play.
We know that if we do everything right, we have a pretty big shot at it.
Yep.
And that has to be enough. So
well, it's always all we ever have. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't regret at all if we were telling people that we were going to do it on Super Tuesday, because that's what people need to, you need to have that belief. And I believed it because
I believed it. I wasn't fucking.
Because I did believe it was 2004. I felt like it was with an incumbent in there. The herd reaction was real, which is partially true. I guess I just didn't think that, given how incompetent the Democrats had been up until literally 3 days before the fucking Super Tuesday had been a consolidating. I mean, I didn't predict them to, at the very last moment, figure out how to fucking do it.
Well,
I mean,
we know better now.
I would love to know I can't wait to find out the behind the scenes.
And here's the good
story
news.
How that went down.
Also, here's the good news.
Now we know.
Yeah.
Biden is the weakest possible guy they could have fucking coalesced around. He's the weakest fucking candidate they could have done this for.
Absolutely. No, it's like he is so fragile. I mean, not just physically, but when he is on screen,
mentally weak.
When he is on screen, when people are forced to actually sit and ponder Joe Biden, their estimation of him goes down. And we have the fucking data on this. We've seen it. Early states that start paying attention, boom, numbers fall down. All these later states haven't started paying attention, and now they're going to get a chance. They're going to get a chance to see ads and watch debates and see clips of him talking about how Social Security should be cut. He's got walking around D.C. eating a hot dog with a T-shirt that says, "Ask me about eliminating Medicare." And that worked. We know it had an effect with one group of more high information, because they were earlier in the calendar voters. And I don't think there's any reason to believe that phenomenon will not continue to happen, especially since it's one-on-one now, and that means Bernie can actually go more negative.
Yeah. And also, the haze of Bloomberg and Steyer ads have been lifted.
Right. So you can actually get some airtime.
Yeah, we're all like kind of coming down right now.
Yeah.
And we're like, things are back in focus. Our eyes have started to stop shaking back and forth.
Yeah.
No, and like I said, just to reiterate what Virgil said, it's a zero-sum game, and it's time to go full negative on Joe Biden.
And in Bernie Sanders' speech last night in Essex Junction, he gave the preview of that.
Yep.
They're going to hit him on his Iraq war vote. They're going to hit him on the bankruptcy bill, and they're going to hit him on Medicare and Social Security cuts.
And those traditionally have been things that have been incredibly dangerous and damaging to anyone who gets associated with those positions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, remember, that's how Trump won the nomination.
Yes, he was the Democrat. He was the Republican who wouldn't. He was the Republican who wouldn't do it. He was the Republican who said, "I'm not going to do that shit. I'm not doing austerity shit."
Candidates have been sunk for much less than that. Traditionally, I mean, they do call it the third rail politics for a reason. I mean,
we just need to make sure we get to people, because, like Will said, these are not people that are on Twitter.
Yes. No, this is the posting. If posting wars must continue, I'm sorry, they must move to Facebook.
Yeah,
as horrifying as the prospect of going on Facebook might be to you, that's where the Biden voters are.
Yeah.
And that's where they must be dealt with.
You gotta talk to my mom, Papa.
Gotta talk to your folks.
And I mean, I guess just the last thing I want to say about this, to you, listener, or any of your friends and family, is it is going to be very hard for a lot of people to resist the ideological discipline of being sort of morally blackmailed into being like, well, you're the reason Trump's going to get another term. You're the reason those kids are in cages. This is why you have to support Biden. He's electable, blah, blah, blah. We have to fight, fascism, which I'll say, like, yes, like the world, like Trump is scary, but we have already lived through 2 terms of George W. Bush.
And I'm sorry, we were talking about this last night. people have fucking amnesia.
Yeah.
This is not as bad.
It's
not.
The George W. Bush administration was catastrophically and light years more disastrous and evil to this country and the world than Trump has been so far. Obviously, the idea of like an unrestrained Congress and judiciary behind his back is frightening, but you have to be willing to fucking risk it. This country had 2 years of Ronald fucking Reagan, 2 terms of Ronald fucking Reagan, 2 terms of George W. Bush and the war on terror and the war in Iraq. Thank you, Joe Biden. So like, yeah, just don't be blackmailed by this. Just like, don't allow yourself to be cowed by what is an instrument of ideological discipline to get you to not trust your instincts about what you want and who is best for this country. And
a vote for Biden is a vote for Trump.
Absolutely.
Just respond with that. Like, nope, he'll lose. He'll lose to Trump.
And if that's the case, we told you in 2016, we told you again. Mm-hmm. We tried to give you every chance not to do this to yourself. But, I mean, I think we're basically seeing honestly, I think the Democrats' real game here is 2024. I mean, they'd be happy to win the election now, but they would rather lose than have Bernie win.
Absolutely, they would rather
lose.
lose.
These are the same people that are telling you it's your fault those kids are in cages.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Obama built those fucking cages, and we tried to stop you from nominating Hillary Clinton last time. It's your fucking fault. So don't fucking try to scold or blackmail me.
You're the one that got him elected.
Yeah, you did it. You did this. That's on you.
I'm thinking about this. So the line among establishment Democrats is the reason they don't like Bernie has nothing to do with the fact that his policies threaten the interests of their donor base and actual bosses, but because he can't win, and that's what they care about. If that were true, if they really do think, I mean, obviously it's both of those things, but their public one is he can't win. If they really think he can't win, if they actually think he can't win, in addition to thinking he's a threat to their party, then they would kind of just like let him get the nomination and then lose. And then that's it. That's the end of the whole thing. And, you get to, you don't have to talk about McGovern anymore. You can talk about Bernie and like put the left on its back foot for another 40 years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that the fact that they're willing to do this, that they've talked openly about giving the nomination to somebody who didn't get the most delegates or votes at the convention, splitting the party in at least the short term and guaranteeing a loss, means that they don't, even at the highest levels, truly think he would lose.
Yeah.
And more important than that,
they stop Bernie. Why? What are they trying to stop?
Yeah.
Wouldn't they just play long game, let him lose?
Exactly. And like they could even help him lose. They could do rat fucking and they could like sabotage him, which they would if he got the nomination. But clearly they don't think that they're good enough at that either to ensure that he would lose to put the risk of him getting the nomination, which really does show you just how fucking scared of him they are and how much power he really could in a very short time be able to accrue and direct.
And like that power, it just comes from like Amber, like what you said, like that he is offering things that we all need and deserve. Mm-hmm. And he's saying like, we can have this. You deserve this. You deserve the safety and security of health insurance, of an education, of a roof over your head. And sadly, there's a good chunk of the Democratic Party who just basically is willing to say, we don't want anything better. Mm-hmm. We either you don't deserve it or we don't even want it.
It's not a party.
We don't even want anything to change. We just want a Democrat in the White House.
It's not a party. It's not a party. It's a machine of elites or whatever. But it's also a very bad machine.
Terrible machine.
It's
one of the worst.
Functioning constantly.
It's the Democratic Party might be. People talk about how the Republican Party is like this monstrous tumor of like vile authoritarianism and racism and everything. And of course it is, but the reason that they're in power is because of the Democratic Party.
Yes, they represent like 30% of the country.
Who is
at
the
least
worst?
Have party discipline.
And but they're also, as everybody keeps pointing out, and keeps yelling about, they are a minority view.
Yes,
and yet they run everything. And that's because they are running against Democrats.
Yeah, well, they have fucking party discipline. Remember all those never Trumpers? Remember how they shut the fuck up and got in line?
Yeah.
Well, that's because they have a unified interest. They have a unified interest at the top. The Democrats don't. And then when those splits become more severe, they just collapse because they have no way of resolving the conflict.
No, they are a minority view that is allowed to control every lever of power in this country because the Democrats let them.
Yeah.
And the Democrats are not just, they're just, it's a combination of like, yeah, they're too fucking weak and incompetent to beat them, but it's also that they're complicit in it.
Of course.
They're complicit in it. They are accomplices in the same goal that serves the same interest.
I mean, at the base,
Republicans are scum and the Democrats are dumb scum.
I mean, and they're even more corrupt and cynical scum, because at least the Republicans, for the most part, especially now with like the new generation of, post Tea Party, post Trump true believers in Congress, a lot of them like really believe all that shit. Democrats, there's almost not, there are a handful of elected Democrats who actually believe anything they say to their rube fucking supporters about wanting to get health care or any fucking other thing. They're literally lying because their job is to provide a venting point and a sense of pseudo control to people who just watch as their lives get worse and worse at the direct result of government policy.
Their job is to justify the existence of a party, whose job is to justify the existence of a party, whose job is to. It's just a fucking circular logic.
And that's why they need the Republicans.
Their job is to carry out the policies of capital.
Yes.
And all of this is to disguise that imperative. And that's why the Democratic Party must be taken over or destroyed. And like, even in the worst case scenario, they actually take it from Bernie. Guess what? You don't get to just black pill and go home then either, because then the job is to destroy the fucking Democrats.
Yeah. And
it'll be a party either way.
Yeah. You get to be Joker-fied. That's what matters. And it's so fun. Just look at Liz. She's having a great time.
She's having a great time. Well, maybe not right now.
No, not right now.
Like, I'm very tired, but we're in the running.
Yeah.
And we got to keep running.
Yep.
And no wild-eyed triumphalism, but also no gloom and doom, because shut the fuck up. That's for babies.
Mm-hmm.
And you might lose.
Yeah.
Be brave. I've lost over and over and over again, and I keep doing it. Like, sorry, that's just the history of the left. We lose more times than we win.
Get that fucking boulder up the goddamn hill.
But this is, again, the biggest opportunity I've had in my lifetime, and the window for success is wider and wider. I can't believe how close we are.
Basically a tie in delegates after Super Tuesday with more than half of the delegates still to be allocated, I believe.
Well, more than half.
More than half.
I mean, my Christ, I saw an analysis that said that if Bernie beats Biden collectively by 3 points in the rest of the states, he will win. He will go in.
And also keep in mind that the states that this primary are going to move to now are way, way better for Bernie Sanders than like the deep South states that Biden racked up.
Yeah, we're going to make him.
Like, we're talking about the upper Midwest. Michigan is the next one.
Yeah.
I expect Bernie to do strongly there, but like, just keep at it. I'll just last thing I'll say is, when I started, the real race is today, right now. And if you're a Sanders supporter, or you're feeling down in the dumps, or you feel like you've taken a hit, then this is the test. Can you take the fucking hit and keep fighting?
Indeed.
We've been on the road for about 68 weeks now. And as this election tour comes to a close, I just want to reflect on just far, far too many talented, diligent people that we've met on the campaign trail in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and all throughout California. Many people who have been at this, have been organizing for months now. People who told us that they listened to something we said on this show, and they just immediately packed up the car and they drove to Iowa to canvass in 15-degree weather. And in Iowa and New Hampshire and Nevada and in California, they did their jobs. They delivered. They're the reason why we are in this race, why it is a close race. If it hadn't been for everyone chipping in their own way, doing what they can, even if that's not very much, if it weren't for that, we would not be here. As close as those early states have been, and as tough as Super Tuesday was. And right now, everyone's contribution is important everywhere they are. Wherever you're listening to this from, if it's in the continental United States, Hawaii, Alaska, or one of our wonderful territories that we love so much.
Shout out to Marianas Islands.
We love them, folks.
Know that the campaign is coming to your neighborhood and that it matters
exponentially more that you do something in your neighborhood, that you even if you can just walk your block once, or you can talk to a few of your neighbors or your family members, to just start snagging some votes for Bernie Sanders. And now that it is a week-by-week delegate fight, I want to just give you a little preview of what's coming up. In 6 days, the campaign goes to, let me see if I got this at the top of the dome, Idaho, North Dakota, Washington, and Michigan, 4 states that Bernie Sanders won in 2016, as well as Mississippi and Missouri, 2 states that Bernie Sanders lost in 2016. And these are going to be important states. Everyone is going to look to see that Bernie Sanders can win in Michigan again. Missouri, Washington, 2 delegate-rich states that, could stand to be pretty close this time around. If you're there or you're near there, pitch in. Even in a place like Mississippi, which no one expects Bernie Sanders to win, at this point, it's not just about technically getting the most votes in a state,
right?
So that you can, paint that state whatever color that the networks use. It's about getting delegates. And if there's a difference between Bernie Sanders getting, say, 25% in Mississippi and 35% in Mississippi, that difference means delegates.
Yep.
And every delegate that you take away from Joe Biden is a delegate that you give to Bernie Sanders. So no matter where you are, even if it's tough territory, go out there and do something. That's my message.
Let's do it.
Also, thank you.
Let's get that
Yes,
bread.
thank you.
Thank you to, honestly, every single person who performed with us on this tour, who canvassed with us on tour, everyone who came to see us at a live show on tour, everyone who simply just introduced themselves or said kind words about listening to the show and what it's meant to you. Thank you to everyone who we didn't even meet, who maybe doesn't even know about the show, who still went out and worked for Bernie Sanders. And thank you, perhaps most of all,
to the people who gave us drugs.
Yes, to the heroes who provided us with the medicine that we needed to continue to function.
Daddy needs his
Thank you, Marianne.
No, yes, thank you to the people who gave us drugs.
All of our guests on the show.
All of our guests on the show. You guys are all amazing. Adam Friedland, Truanon. I'm going to forget a lot of people.
Justin Jackson.
Dave Anthony, Nick Diamonds. It's been an amazing, amazing tour. This was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but far and away the most rewarding. And that is due to what I would really like to thank all of my friends and coworkers and co-podcasters. Matt, Chris, Amber, Virgil, and Felix.
Love my pod.
Love my bros and broettes.
It's fine. You can say bro.
Okay. I like broette sounds fun though.
Really?
Yeah.
It sounds like a pastry.
Yeah, delicious. I need a broette for sure.
Family loves pod.
Family loves pod.
We will be,
and as well, of course, thanks as always to Chris Wade, without whom we would just be driving around in a van yelling out of megaphones.
That would be it. And that is fun, but it's not quite as effective.
Yeah. We're going to do it, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm doing more. Expect more megaphone-related hijinks in the near future.
I was saying to Matt that, if we lived in the pre-digital era, that would be our jobs. We would drive around in a flatbed truck, hollering out our opinions to people on the street out of megaphones. Yes. And we would subsidize our lifestyles by people hucking nickels into the bed of the truck. We would still be rich podcast millionaires because we'd be really good at it.
We'd be so good.
We're so good at it.
Yeah.
There would be so many hand-wringing editorials in the newspaper about these uncouth dirt bags just driving around in a truck and screaming their opinions at us. This is harassment.
Thank you, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, California, New York. I will see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.